Hi, this is Leonard from Master Sprinter TV. Today we're going to talk about the topic of nutrition. Now we're not going to necessarily discuss every nutrient, vitamin, mineral that exists, but just cover some of the basics that are of more relevance to sprinters in general, and that way we keep it as a brief discussion. So the first nutrient we're going to discuss is protein. Now your general recommendation here is about 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight. Basically what protein does is it builds and repairs muscle fibers and tissues that are damaged by either resistance training, weight training, sprint training, that sort of thing. It also supports tendon and connective tissue repair, improves recovery, and reduces the risk of injury. Your most obvious sources are going to be red meats, fish, dairy, beans, of course your whey powders, lentils, and that sort of thing. So protein is pretty obvious number one nutrient that we need to be aware of and make sure we're meeting that requirement as sprint athletes. So the next nutrient we're going to discuss is magnesium. Now what magnesium does, it helps in muscle contraction and relaxation. So a lack of magnesium can actually lead to muscle cramps and fatigue. It's part of ATP energy production. It's also it's important for nervous system function and sleep quality as well. Now your most obvious sources for magnesium are going to be almonds, cashews, dark chocolate, and leafy greens, which could be things such as spinach, kale, and then some of your lettuces as well. Okay, the next nutrient we're going to discuss are your omega-3 fatty acids. Now these are an anti-inflammatory. They're also important in muscle recovery and joint and tendon health. Your most obvious sources are going to be your fatty fishes such as salmon, and then as well flax and chia. Okay, the next group of nutrients we're going to discuss are your electrolytes, which would be things such as sodium, potassium, and chloride. Now these are a lot of times lost in intense heat or intense exercise. So they serve as nerve signals or are part of muscle contraction and hydration. So common sources would be salted foods, bananas, oranges, coconut water, and fruit juices. And then if you need to resort to kind of drinks such as electrolyte drinks such as Gatorade, Powerade, or Propel, that is also an alternative. Okay, another important vitamin that we're going to discuss is vitamin D, which is important for muscle power and the reduction of injury risk. It enhances bone density and reduces or helps to prevent fractures. It's also important for muscle strength and power output, as well as immune function, and then tendon and bone health, which we kind of touched on as well. Now your body actually produces, if you're exposed to sun, produces some vitamin D, but some dietary sources would include, again, fatty fishes such as salmon, egg yolks, and then dairy. Another important nutrient for sprinters is calcium. Now this is important for muscle contraction as well as stress fracture prevention. Now your most obvious sources for calcium are going to be dairy products, as well as leafy greens, such as your spinach and kale, and then also sardines would be another source of calcium. Okay, the next group of nutrients that we're going to discuss are your B vitamins. We're not going to get into all the different types of B vitamins, but basically B vitamins as a group are important for energy metabolism, nervous system function, red blood cell production, and they basically are converting energy in the form of carbohydrates or fats in your food into energy that your body can actually use. So your most common sources are going to be meats, eggs, dairy, legumes, as well as some leafy greens and whole grains as well. Okay, even though they're a little bit different, we're going to kind of group these together here. Collagen and vitamin C, so they're both important for kind of giving resilience to your Achilles, your hamstrings, and your calves, which obviously are important in sprint movements. Now what they do, these nutrients they do, is they're going to provide skin and connective tissue repair, as well as tendon and ligament cartilage structure. Now some of your sources for collagen are going to be things such as gelatin and bone broth, whereas in the case of vitamin C, it's going to be your citrus fruits, your berries, and then as well peppers. Okay, the next nutrient we're going to discuss is iron, which is important for fatigue and training tolerance. It's important in oxygen transport, as well as energy production. Now, some of your best sources of iron are going to be, red meats, beans, and spinach. Okay, the next nutrient we're going to discuss is zinc. Now, zinc is important for hormone production, such as testosterone, as well as immune function and tissue repair, and then lastly for recovery. Now, some of your better sources of zinc are going to be meats, shellfish, whole grains, and pumpkin seeds. So the last nutrient we'll discuss is creatine. Now, your body does produce some creatine when you have red meats or fish in your diet, but there are some studies that seem to indicate that possibly having 3 to 5 grams of creatine a day can actually improve explosive power, improve lean muscle mass, as well as recovery between intervals. So it is valuable kind of in that regeneration of ATP energy, and it does kind of support kind of those explosive moves that sprint athletes or power athletes in general kind of are involved in. So it's something to consider as part of your diet. Now, one thing I do want to talk about here is multivitamins. Now, multivitamins, they can serve as kind of a insurance against any sort of deficiency in your diet, but they shouldn't be kind of a primary tool for providing nutrients. So again, your primary source of nutrients should be from your diet, getting real food and not so much the processed foods. And then again, so like I said, multivitamins they're not a performance enhancer per se, but they are kind of insurance against some sort of a deficiency in your diet that can kind of help to kind of just assist and fill in the gap, but not as a primary tool of nutrients. So I just wanted to kind of just give you a general overview of some of the basic nutrients that are of value for sprinters. Again, your primary source of nutrients should be from your diet, your meats, your dairy, your fruits and vegetables. Multivitamins can be a supplement. Creatine also might be a valuable supplement as well. But again, your primary source of the nutrients should be from a diet. And again, we weren't trying to cover every nutrient under the sun, but just to kind of give you a basic overview of some of the nutrients that are more critical for sprint athletes. So, till next video.